Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. This week, we're focusing on functions. If you watched yesterday's video, we talked about a few vocabulary words. Let's go back real fast and touch base with those, okay? Um, so, a relation, okay, is just any set of ordered pairs. If you have a group of ordered pairs, that's called a relation. If the set of ordered pairs has different x values, that's called a function. The domain is all the x values and the range is all the y values. So if you didn't watch this video yesterday, it might be a good idea to, pause the video, write these few words down and somewhere in your notes, keep track of them because you will use them all week, okay? So let me go back and go to today's notes. So problem number 1, or this problem set number 1, okay, remember we're on Delta Math today. You have to complete all those sections. Make sure you only do the set problems that are required, okay? Don't do like 25 problems of set 1. Just do the amount that's required. So problem set 1 says which set of ordered pairs represents a function. So in order for it to be a function, my x values need to be different. So let's go through and let's look at my x values. Remember, your x values are the first number in the ordered pair. So if you look at this first set, my x values are not all different. If you look at your second set, your x values are not all different. If you look at your third set, nope, your x values are not all different. But if you look at your fourth set, they are all different. So that last answer there would be, or that last choice would be your answer, okay? Now, it's easy to identify to look at the x values being different if you're given a set of ordered pairs. But what about if you're given a graph? Now, remember, there's something called the vertical line test. And that means if you draw a vertical line through the graph, that was a really bad vertical line. If you draw a vertical line through the graph, it only can hit one time. Okay? So no matter where you draw that vertical line, in order for it to be a function and pass the test, it can only hit one time. So let's go ahead and draw a vertical line through this graph here. Okay, what do you notice? Does it hit it one time? Nope, it hits it twice. So it does not pass the vertical line test, so it is not a function. Okay, no matter where you draw a vertical line, it wouldn't be a function. If I drew my vertical line right here, once again, it hits it twice, okay? So that's problem set 2 is identifying graphs. Problem set 3 says what value is missing. Now, notice here, this is a pattern. You have to tell me what the pattern is. Tell me what the pattern is for my y's so that I can continue through. Okay, now, how do you go from 16 to 23? You add 7. How do you go from 23 to 30? You add 7. How do you go from 30 to 37? You add 7. So what would it be if you went from 37 plus 7? That would give us 44. Okay? So problem set 3 is just you being able to identify a pattern. Problem set 4, find the equation of a linear function represented. Find the equation of the linear function represented, I think it's supposed to say by slope-intercept form. Okay, now remember, y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept form, where m is the slope, and in order to find the slope, you do triangle y over triangle x, and b is your y-intercept, or your starting value, your y value, when x equals 0. Remember when we did this back in the beginning of the year, there was a few extra things we had to look at. So let's first look at m, okay? Triangle y is the pattern to go from one y to the next. So how do you go from one y to the next? You add a positive 8. Triangle x is how do you go from one x to the next? And triangle x would be 1. So your slope is 8. Okay. Now b is your y-intercept, or your y value when x is 0. If you look at your table, notice that x is 0 is on my table. So what's the y value that matches it? -8. Okay. If we pretend that this was not, okay, on our table, because you might be given a table where your 0 is not included, remember when we learned how to go backwards. So if I go back my pattern in my x's, I get to 0. If I go back my pattern in my y's, I get -8, which is the exact same thing that the table gave us. Okay, now let's go ahead and put our values into our slope-intercept form. So my equation would be y equals, my m was +8, x, my b is -8. Okay. Number 5 says find the equation of the linear function represented by the table below in slope-intercept form. So the exact same thing. So first we want to find my m, which is triangle y over triangle x. So my triangle y, or my pattern for my y's, how do I go from one y to the next? I add 3. My triangle y is 3. My triangle x, how do I go from one x to the next? Is I add 1. So my slope simplifies to be 3. Now my beginning value, or my b, or my beginning value, is my y value when x is 0. And notice here how I don't have a 0 in my table, but I can go backwards in my pattern and hit 0. So I have to go backwards in my y pattern. So -2, go backwards 3 gives me -5. So my b value is -5. So then my equation is y equals 3x minus 5, because your m goes in front of the x and your b goes in the back. Okay, so that would be my final answer there. All right, problem set number 6, which, nope, not the last one. It says the graph of y equals f of x is shown below. Determine the value of x when f of x is 2. Okay, so this is basically asking you, what is x, or the x value, when y is equal to 2? Okay, so let's go to our graph. Remember, your y-axis is the vertical axis. When my y value is 2, okay, so when my y value goes across that 2 right there, what is your x value? Well, your ordered pair is right here, and the x value to that ordered pair is 1. So x is equal to 1. So it's all about reading the graph. If it said, I'll do this in red here, what's f of x when we have 6 here? Well, go to your y-axis, find the point that lies on y is 6, and what's my x value? My x value is 5. Okay, so it's just all about reading the graph there. All right, number 7, find the value of f of 4. So when it's written in this notation, it says, well, let x equal 4. What is my y value? All right, so let's find on my x-axis, this is my x-axis here, let's find 4. And the point is kind of highlighted in green there. So it wants to know what your y value is for that point, and my y value is -2. So y equals -2 would be your answer, or just the number of -2. Okay, what if it said what f of -6? Well, we would find -6 on my x-axis, go to the graph, and tell me what y is where that point hits. So the point is right here. The y value it hits would be -4. All right, and that's it, guys. So make sure whatever questions you might have, you jot notes down. The hardest ones are probably going to be the ones where you have to write the equations, so problem set 4 and 5. And maybe set 6 or 7. So just make sure you take notes.